The views expressed on the Nova Society are those of the panelists and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Phoenix Research Institute or any institution which any panel member is associated. Reproduction or dissemination, other than for the purpose of education or information without the express written permission of the Phoenix Research Institute or Nova Society Media, is strictly prohibited. Welcome back to the Nova Society, and today Brooklyn asks a question about the USDA and their funding being cut to food programs and to farmers. And what does this mean, and why are they doing it? So let's listen in.
Well, I do want to talk about the USDA business with cutting money to states now for lunches and to farmers, where farmers now will not have a purchaser from the federal government to purchase already growing food, and children who would normally be fed will not be fed. People who depended on food banks will not be getting food either. And this is how we're going to make America great again. So I wanted to bring these up, and I wanted to see what your thoughts were about what is going on, what you think.
Go ahead, Mark.
Go ahead, Mark. Okay. Local schools should be, and this does relate to farmers. Local schools that cooperate, and I know they do this here in South Carolina. As a matter of fact, in the county that I live in, the high school actually has its own, it's really not a garden, it's an agricultural center. And of course, we have here in South Carolina, Clemson, very close here in the upstate, and they have a big agricultural program in their university. They also work very much with the schools to make, in many ways, schools self-sufficient, which I think is an agricultural kind of state such as South Carolina. And for years, we have been an agricultural state, although we are now actually transitioning to more industrial. I think it's a great program. Now, if you're going to be taking away the funds necessary to be able to feed people who are in need of it, I'm not sure that even this program with Clemson would be sufficient to make up the difference. You can only do so much. I guess my question is, why would you want to do this? What's the end game here?
Cost cutting to save money by making government smaller. That's the idea. My next question is, where does all this money that the government is supposedly saving by firing everybody and making government smaller, where is that money going?
Well, and again, one of the things that came out about Doge is they have a website that says that they saved billions of dollars. And then the next day it comes out, and that's changed over to millions of dollars because somebody can't do math. Elon Musk obviously cannot do math. But so, again, back to the food in schools and back to the farmers and things like this. It seems that if you're going to cut government programs that are going to cause children in schools to go hungry, if you're going to cut government programs that are going to put farmers that could actually help the situation of people going hungry, you're going to hurt them, then I don't care how much money you magically think you're saving, and let's face it, it is magically think you're saving it. You're not doing the country any good whatsoever. This is the difference between something that is necessary and something that is not. We have heard for years toilet seats that cost $400 for the military. You want to go correct something? Go do that. But taking food out of children's mouths, hurting the farmers. In many ways, the farmers are the backbone of our society in many ways. They feed us, which is important. I just don't see the purpose. So go ahead, Brooke.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to say that they gave 60 days notice. Okay, you can't do that with farmers. They buy their seeds well in advance. They plan well in advance. The schools count on this. The local communities count on this. My little school here has a greenhouse, and at one point they had a raised garden, and my daughter-in-law was doing aquaponics, there and had tomatoes growing. It looked like a jungle. I don't know what they're doing now, but they do have a greenhouse, and but it's not going to be enough. This is not a wealthy area.
Well, and again, that's it's not a matter of is it a wealthy area or is it not well. It's not a matter of is it a predominantly agricultural area or is it not a predominantly cultural area. The question comes down to is why do this in the first place? What is the end game? And no, saving money is not it. So enough of the fake answer, which is exactly what it is. It's a made up answer. And okay, so you're not going to feed children. You're going to have children, that are not going to be eating, and that helps how? I have not seen one single thing come out of the Trump administration or Doge or anything else that said my property taxes are going down because of all the money they're saving, or that my income taxes are going down because of the money they're saving. I have noticed that the gas prices went up. I have noticed the price of eggs is up. I have noticed the price of pretty much everything has gone up. Go to the Home Depot tomorrow and take a look at what the prices are for lumber today as compared to what they were 2 months ago. And this was before this was only because somebody was threatening a tariff. They started jacking up the prices. This is the way businesses do. If they see instability, if they see there's going to be a shortage, this is preemptive. And again, so we're saving money. You want to save some money? Deport Elon Musk back to South Africa. That'll save us something. I mean, maybe a couple of bucks. It's better than what they're doing right now. So I just don't see it. I don't see the end game, and I think it's not what we're supposed to be about.
So, we've talked on this podcast before about the Republican governors holding out for the bipartisan plan to feed hungry children during the summer and when school is not in session. We've seen that before, right? Republican governors fell over one another to prove that each one could be more cruel than the next one to children in their state. And I don't understand it. I don't know what's behind it. It really does seem to be a very sick thing. I've been an educator since I was 22 years old. That's 40 years now. And I could tell you from teaching high school, teaching college, that if you want to improve education in America, the number one thing you can do is have every kid come into the school, sit down, and have a good breakfast. And that will stop them from slumping all morning long until lunch. And it will also stop them from getting such a sugar rush at lunch that you can't teach them after lunch because they're so hyped up. So I don't understand what the Republican attack against hungry school children is all about. But I do know that the original program for food stamps was a deal between rural and more urban states, that farmers were creating surpluses. They needed to sell those surpluses. The government decided, hey, we'll buy them and we'll provide them for poor people in our states. And it's a win-win. The farmers get paid and the poor people get food that they would otherwise not be able to afford. It seemed like a good deal at the time. This morning, farmers in Iowa learned that the USDA has chosen not to renew $11 million worth of deals that they signed to get farm food, local food, to places like food pantries and schools. And $11 million to farmers in Iowa is a big deal. It's something like, somebody was growing 40,000 pounds of apples. We're talking about a sizable chunk of their income, which is already under stress because of tariffs and the trade war and losing China again as a customer. That now the government is not fulfilling their contract with them to provide local food for schools, local food purchasing assistance, local food for child care programs. And I'm only talking about the state of Iowa. I'm sure this is happening in other states as well. And these guys are going to lose their farms because of this. And they voted for it. So I'm only somewhat distressed by it. I'm certainly distressed for the children, their families. It seems that there's unending cruelty from the Republicans. It's not just Trump. This is a systemic thing in that party. They hate starving children, and they want them to starve more. They're not even willing to help their own best constituents. Provide the food that the students would need, and it just seems like that they run their worldview comes from spite and a total lack of empathy.
The Nova Society is a production of Nova Society Media, a division of the Phoenix Research Institute. We'd like to thank our production partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, our editing partners, Apple iTunes, the largest source of podcasts and music on the internet, Spotify, the most popular platform for the Nova Society, and iHeartRadio, your source for all things music and podcasting. The Nova Society is available on all of these and other quality platforms listed in our description. We'd also like to thank all of our listeners. Without your support, the Nova Society would not be possible. If you have a question or a comment, we can be reached at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. So for Dr. Brooklynn Ann Weldon, Dr. Priscilla Hobbs, Dr. Scott Gershwer, and all of us here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Remember, the true power in society is knowledge. Thanks for listening, and we will see you again next time. We'd like to thank our sponsor for this episode, the Journal of Interdisciplinary Conflict Science. The JCIS is an open journal for upcoming scholars. The JCIS is currently accepting article submissions on an ongoing basis. JCIS is a publication of Nova Works, a scholarly repository at Nova Southeastern University. A link to the journal is in our description.